Earth as a singular planet. In fact, it is anything but. For this is a story not of a universe, but a multiverse, where universes and planets, such as Earth, were replicated and mirrored across a vibrating, infinite plane. Some barely different from the next. Others drastically so.
This is DC On Screen. Every week, Dave and Jason talk about the multiverse of DC properties on film and television. But be warned, if it's been officially released, you can expect they'll spoil it.
Welcome into episode 488 of DC On Screen. I'm your host, David C. Robertson. This is my co-host, Jason Goss.
Hello.
And tonight we are going to be getting into The Flash, Season 4, Episode 23. We are The Flash, the season finale of Season 4. But first things first, we do want to remind you that it does us a huge favor if you leave us a positive rating or review on iTunes. It totally helps our show get out there, and we will have a link in the show notes for that. Alright, so I kind of want to start out by saying I think if you've ever heard us before, and if you haven't, here's what we're going to tell you. We love these characters. We love this show. I love Cisco. I love Harry. I've actually loved every version of Wells. Caitlin. I love these characters, all right? So I might get a little negative on this episode because I have not, and a lot of people share my sentiment. A lot of people have not liked this season very much. I haven't liked this season very much. It's been okay. There's hills and valleys. How do you feel, man?
There's hills and valleys like every season, but I did like it. Not the best season. Mm-hmm.
And I would go so far as to say probably my least favorite season finale.
It's maybe the least impactful. Like I wasn't a sobbing mess at any point during this one.
And maybe that might be the tone setter for the Flash season finales. If you're sobbing uncontrollably, that means they did a good job.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that this season really lacked, I feel, was big surprises, big mysteries. They set all that up in previous seasons so much. Mm-hmm. Who is Savitar? Who is Zoom? Who is, Man in the Iron Mask? Who,
Yeah.
I was just they were just, completely balls out on this season saying no, it's DeVoe. Yeah, but
but that was refreshing in the,
I know.
The two major things were, one, it wasn't more speedsters.
Mm-hmm.
They even got rid of a speedster mid-season.
They did.
Two, it was, I liked DeVoe's plan, and I liked the fact that it was just them versus some machination that they couldn't really get their hands on. Because they have powered Barry up to the point where it's hard to conceive of somebody that he can't physically just grab and put where he needs him to be. Mm-hmm. So DeVoe always being a step ahead. And this job, this episode did a great job of wrapping up how far ahead DeVoe has always been.
Well, I sort of thought that I thought that the way they set it up was that the Flash his mind was going to be more in tune with the Speed Force, that him, writing in the Speed Force language and all of that was going to be a next evolution of Barry. He was going to use the mere speed of thought to just outthink the thinker, by being that damn fast. And instead he ran Ralph through a secret portal inside of his own mind, inside of Ralph's mind.
I see why you were thinking that, but I'm still okay with where they got it instead. I love Run, Barry, Run. I even love that DeVoe does a play on that at some point in this episode.
Yeah. That was fun.
That was nice. But I love the Run, Barry, Run thing. But I would have been, I think, a little annoyed with him just Speed Force level out thinking DeVoe. Because it's with Superman, it's one of the least exciting things that there are a ton, just a vast set of Superman powers that people have given and taken over the years, different writers, and one of them is he's just super intelligent at times because he can do that. That one's one of the dumb ones. We don't need that one for him. That's not who he is. Same with Barry. I love him being really intelligent, and I love that in this show, in this canon, he can be really intelligent about any subject he wants to be for a time. Mm-hmm. He can go cram that subject and just know, he can know particle physics for 8 hours or something like that. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. If it was a take on that, maybe. But I like the idea that it's still just them versus this implacable wall of, I've already thought of that.
Yeah.
It was refreshing.
It was cool, I think, up until this episode. Like, I think part of my issue with this one is maybe that, like, I kind of, like, everything was kind of telegraphed. Like, I figured it would end with Cecile in labor. I figured her psychic powers were going to be, playing into things. Everyone knew Mystery Girl was either their daughter or granddaughter. Everyone knew that Marlize was going to eventually come to the side of Team Flash. And they were right. All of these things were right. I just didn't really feel it. And then for the capper to be like, well, we're going to kind of go inside of his head and run around and then, like, Agent Smith that shit. Like, they're going to be attacked by a bunch of Agent Smiths, essentially.
Yeah.
Agent DeVoe's. It was a little... I kind of felt like they were building up to something else with the Speed Force language. Though, I mean, it kind of looks like they're building up to something for that in Season 5, too.
That's the major thing. Well, first of all, going through all the Mr. Smiths, the Ralph Dibny cape was hilarious.
It was.
So, I'm not even going to hate on that scene. I had to pause and laugh my ass off a little bit at him just flowing mindlessly through that. Anyway, that's the major thing. Like, this season and this finale in particular have done a couple things that no other season of The Flash has done. Like, they took it a different way as far as it not being as tactile an enemy, and that was good. I think it was a good thing for the show to do right now. It was nice to see the team just repeatedly defeated over the course of the season. Like, every time they thought they had to step up on him, they were done. But
yeah,
what they did in this episode, like, they did sacrifice a little bit. I don't know if they sacrificed her, if it just didn't hit. Because it was a little emotionally underwhelming compared to what we've been seeing before with Flash episodes. Or with Flash finales in particular. Like, most of the time you're just, like, the few episodes leading up to the Flash, season finale, you're just, like, carrying a box of Kleenex in to watch the damn thing. And there were definitely moments like that within the course of the season. It's not like this has just been... It's not like a medicated season, man. I mean, like, Inner Flash time, you go back and watch, like, Harry and Jesse listening to memories of their mom or something. Like, that was...
Oh, man.
Oh,
that
God.
Yeah. That was rough, man. Oh, my.
that was... Yeah. That got some serious feels.
And subsequently, watching Harry's intellect diminish has been
drained. And then, one of the heartbreaking moments of this episode, like watching Cisco watch his friends' just last thoughts just vanish. That was rough. There were a lot of rough parts in this season. But what it did better than I think any finale that has preceded it in the Flash universe, at least, was set up an exciting universe for next season. Like, it's one thing to just do a big bad. And don't get me wrong, the Flashpoint finale where he goes back in time after the kiss, that was huge.
It was. I don't think there's been one that's been, like, caused as much anticipation. For me, this one caused as much anticipation. Okay.
Because...
Well, I mean, they just kind of did it again, but with his daughter.
They didn't, though. We have all these little pieces that they've been building the entire season. Like... Yes, there is just another Flashpoint thing, but now we have a Flashpoint and a Barry that can handle it and a Barry that's involved with it and has experience with it. Like, that'll be fun to see. Because, come on, man. I mean, it's the Flash. DC Comics uses the Flash over and over again to reset time when they need him. Like, it's just something you end up doing with the Flash every now and then if you're a writer. Like, yep, we're just gonna throw this in there and see, reset it to this point and see what happens differently. And honestly, most of the time, it's like, let's see what we keep. But in this one, like, Barry's already been through this before. He's going to get to help his daughter. Iris has already been informed. The whole team has been through this. They're going to get to see it. And they've been building up this whole Speed Force language thing. Like, Harry was mindlessly scrawling those letters while he was losing his mind. And then the mechanic gives him... I keep calling her that because I can't remember her name. But it's also true. The mechanic gives him...
Marlize.
Thank you. Gives him this piece of technology, which, when you look at the visor as he's being fixed, uses the same piece of, the same vocabulary. Like, the Speed Force was involved heavily through the season. Like, Mystery Girl's writing in it. Harry's mind is broken and fixed by it. And that may be part, I don't know if it plays in or not, but...
I mean, it has to. Like, Barry's daughter's writing it in some of the flashback scenes.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, not flashback, but earlier in the season.
Like, she's, after she meets... Cisco and Dibny, and buys their coffee. Yeah, she's writing in that thing. Like it's that Speed Force language is going to end up being extremely important, I think. And I like how it sets up a whole new world and set of possibilities for next year. But oh man, like you have to consider like also like I know we're going to get a new Harrison of some kind, but it's Harry's mind is like I can't get past that. I can't get past the fact that he was just scribbling in this unknown language while he was dumb. And that it was
also when they were fixing it, that language was
somehow
like
what
panning
fixed
across
him.
his.
It seems like it's like, just to take a guess. It seems like that language is in him in some capacity, and it's part of his storyline in some capacity that we have yet to know, and that somehow, because he only was restored to a certain point of hairiness, like that language has to be involved, and I'm like suspicious that the mechanic knew to what level she could kind of take that. I don't even know where that goes, but it's a lot of like little pieces that I'm still confused by and excited by, like stuff like that. And then just to like run the whole season through, you come in and you immediately see Nora with like this house is bitchin' and stuff. Like there's all kinds of tie-ins that like they've been playing with some ideas all season where they clearly knew what they were doing tomorrow, like next season.
This house is bitchin'. No, hard to find.
Apparently not, though. Many people have visited that house.
Yeah, like
wanted and unwanted visitors.
King Shark found this place.
Yeah,
come on.
He's not an intellectual juggernaut of the universe. Anyway, long story short, that language alone has me very excited, and I love the fact that they've been setting it up all season. And you look at what they've been doing, and it's been a clear setup. Whatever they've been doing, they've been seeding it.
Yeah, I think I've enjoyed the dual personality of Caitlin and Killer Frost a lot. I've enjoyed the fact that she predates the particle accelerator.
Yeah, that was nice.
That's awesome. Still waiting on Deathbolt.
I know.
But,
I know. It's my ongoing war.
But whatever. Yeah. How did you feel about what's her face? The I can't remember her name now. The lady that controls the metal. What was her name?
Amethyst? Amethyst Black or something?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I can't remember her name, actually.
I've forgotten too. No hard or soft feelings. She's fine. I mean, a little bit of a scenery chewer, but decent arc within the story this season. And I kind of like that she's out there.
I wound up liking her at the end, but those first few appearances were just rough to get through for me. I was like, "What are you doing, lady?"
Same can be said for Killer Frost. Like,
absolutely,
Panabaker's really honed that in right now, and I fell in love with Killer Frost this season. But those first few were, again, scenery chewing.
Speaking of scenery chewers, how much did you love the Amunet Black? That was her name.
Amunet Black.
How much did you love? How much did you love Harry and Cisco doing Wrath of Khan?
Not as much as you, I'm sure.
Oh, I loved it. I loved that Iris looked at Barry and goes, Star Wars, and he just looks at her like, no. And you know, I felt
the
like
look of like, who did I marry?
As funny as that is, like, I feel like they should have chosen someone other than Iris. Because if you go over to TV Time, if you go on Twitter, people have been really hating on Iris this season. The last thing they needed was for that character to confuse Star Wars and Star Trek.
Look at, dude, judge the room. She's the one who would be like close enough because she's trying and yet not know it. That's the character
I don't disagree.
Who it's accurate. I mean,
it's accurate, but I feel like they should have maybe given that one to Joe or somebody. You know,
Joe's the only other one I might kick that out to, but still.
Yeah, the fans are way more forgiving of Joe, though.
They are. Those Joe eyes.
It's so hard not to be.
Yeah.
Oh man, but yeah, one of the things I like about the fact that, which I've seen some people complaining about. Harry not actually having all of his powers or all of his intelligence back. But, you know, like he said, there's a balance. And how many times have you seen over the course of this season and previous seasons where Cisco and anyone else who, you know, deigns to try to have an actual human conversation with Harry be frustrated as hell over the idea that Harry is such an arrogant dick.
Yes.
Like, I love Harry, but he's a dick.
But he is
and a half
for sure a sociopath. Yeah.
And I feel some sort of great peace over the fact that he's going to be able to go and actually have a real relationship with his daughter. For God's sake.
The idea that like I love the arc for Harry. Like, given the last few seasons, for Harry, that's huge. And I kind of like it for him. Like, if I never saw that particular version of Harrison Wells again, I would happily go to sleep every night thinking, man, he's with his daughter, and they're feeling things together. This is great. It would be it'd be wonderful for him to actually be able to go over back to her, like, you know, give her a hug and say, like, I have never asked you this and known what I was talking about, but like, how do you feel about anything? Please talk to me. Let's have a real conversation for the first time in your life. Like, that's heartwarming.
Yeah.
And you know, we'll probably see him back. Harry, they'll probably bring him back. They just do.
Oh, absolutely. I imagine. Especially with all of that Speed Force language running around in his brain.
Yeah. And I'm kind of hoping they don't do like a kind of a reverse Flowers for Algernon, where he's dumb enough that he's happy, and then they take that away and make him smart again.
I think they will.
They might.
I think they might.
Even if they do, maybe at least there's this time. Like, he is a smart guy. Like, I loved in this episode that he's not just immediately emotionally like wise. He still walks out of the room thinking like, going to see my daughter, and then has to turn around and go like, should probably do a group hug for it. Like, he's not just immediately capable. He's still got to learn. But now he has the capacity to learn that emotional skill set that he never had before. And I love that. But like, it would be nice if at least, even if they did pull him back and give him all his IQ back, that they still let him have that. Like, he did learn in the time that he had it. Like, he did learn about his daughter in the time that he was, you know, a balanced person, we'll call it. I hope they at least give me that, because that would still be a pretty good arc.
Yeah,
but it's not. It was nice to see him do that though. Hated it for Cisco,
well,
who like half gets his friend back.
Well, I'm not sure that there's not something dark around the corner for Harry and Killer Frost, because
I'm quite sure there is.
Todd Helbig said that if you look back over the season at Mystery Girl, or Nora Allen as we know now, at Nora Allen's interactions with the different characters, that her interactions sort of foreshadow what she knows of them in the future. And while she really did act like I was pleased to see, because I went back and looked, and I was pleased to see that she was wearing an Oregon Trail t-shirt. She's like being real geeky and talking, you know, she's very smart to Cisco, and Ralph doesn't get her, and, you know, she seemed really happy. Like, I zeroed in because she seemed really nervous and weird, both interactions, but I zeroed in on how she acted afterward. After she met Cisco and Ralph, and they walked away, she was happy, she was cheerful, and she was writing in that Speed Force language. After she met Caitlin and Harry, sorry, I'm having my own Harry moments, I'm losing my mind, I'm losing the thoughts.
Just finish the cast, like, man.
Yeah, she switches into like this very dark demeanor because Caitlin says, "I hope your meeting goes well," and they walk away, and she like gets really serious after they walk away and goes, "It did," you know. She knows something about them.
Yeah, like
she's weary of them. So that's the only thing I could really see about what he was talking about.
Well, I went back and looked too, and for what you're saying. Even in the first meeting, when she walks away from Barry, it still looks like she kind of walks away thinking, she looks a little stunned. Like, even the way she grabs his hand, she looks a little stunned. Like, looking back, I don't think she ever got to really meet him.
Oh yeah, no, I think he died. I think she saved him when he punched that satellite.
I think so. So, and just, I don't know, man. There's something about that in the context we know now. And then you go to her meeting with Cisco and Dibney. Like, she does. She gets down. She starts scrawling in her journal excitedly. Like, this went well for her. But part of that is I think she shows up at just the right time. I think she wants to like help cement that relationship a little bit between Cisco and Dibney. I think that's what she showed up at that time to do. And also to kind of ingratiate herself. Like, to show up and be someone that Cisco remembered a little fondly. Like, she even talks about, like, pay it forward. She even goes into talking about, how'd you describe it? Principle of infinite consequences.
Yeah.
Like, she literally starts talking nerd and starts to look worried as she talks about principal events going on. Like, this is clearly after she fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just the worried look on her face when she does that. And then, I don't know, I think she came knowing she'd need a favor at that moment. But
It's interesting.
the one that really cracks me up is it's not so much how she leaves the conversation with Harry and Caitlin. It's what she interrupts. She interrupts Caitlin explaining to Harry that, like, when Killer Frost is brought into the nuclear situation in her flash time, there's a moment where, like, she explains later that, like, she felt Killer Frost worry, and she had never really felt that before, but she was worried about Caitlin. Like, there's some kinship that she felt Killer Frost feel for her, and she starts to tell Harry about that, and that's when she spills, literally spills a Killer Frost on the table. Like, that's for irony's sake, the spring milk or whatever the hell it is.
That's interesting.
I think it's what she interrupts that mattered, and that's what she did. That's what she achieved during that. Like, for some reason, she did not want Harry to know that Killer Frost and Caitlin had that kind of connection. Because my best guess, it may have to do with, like, while Harry was still super smart, she did not want him to have that piece of information because he might have unlocked the puzzle of, like, what's going on with Killer Frost and Caitlin. I don't know where that leads. I don't know if she, for some reason, needed Killer Frost to not be alive or, you know, not be present during the whole climax of the season, or given kind of the, like you said, the kind of like cold shoulder sneer. I don't know if that's part of what happens in the 30 years that apparently, according to the producers, have passed since that event. I don't know where that lies in this, but I think it's what she interrupted more than how she acted.
That's interesting. Well, I'm going to watch those scenes again.
I'd actually pay for that one to watch that one. CW only keeps so many at a time.
Yeah. Ow. Gosh, I completely lost track of what I was thinking before. Oh, how much you want to bet DeVoe's not gone for good?
There's still
It seems like
plenty of avenues for him to return.
Like, I get there can be pieces of him still in Ralph's mind
Easily.
but what I was thinking is, and we were talking about this earlier. He doesn't look phased his holographic version of him doesn't look phased when she goes and, like, yanks that shit out of the back of that chair. Like,
yeah, he says, like, you think I didn't foresee this circumstance or whatever. However, I'm paraphrasing that.
Yeah, I mean, he pulled some Johnny Depp transcendence, man. Like, he's in computers and shit now.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of which, I loved this idea that over the course of the series, like, he chose that set of powers because he knew that's exactly what he'd need. And I loved this, to defeat anyone that would actually be brought in by the rest of the Arrowverse. That was good writing.
Yeah, that was a good way to keep everybody out of it.
And to
Make
explain
people not go,
why,
"Why are
like,
they doing that?"
yeah, like, why didn't you just call, like, Supergirl and Superman? Like, they're in there too. Yeah, he thought of that.
Yep.
And then the way they used Plastic Man in the course of this series, I thought of, like, what would it matter if Supergirl did punch him? It just bounced back. Like, he's got a plan. Like, this, they've really powered Plastic Man. I love it. Or Elongated Man. I'm sorry. Elongated Man.
Yep.
Heard myself as I was doing it.
It's all right, man. I still love you.
It's fine. I'll live. I always want to call him Digby, and I call him Dibney out of practice.
You happy he's back?
I actually am.
I wasn't a huge fan of his going into the season, but I'm on board now. I like him a lot more than I did at the beginning.
They earned it. Even his, not quite death that was one of the more touching moments. Actually, he was part of two really touching moments. Like when Barry just kind of touches his shoulder while he's watching the Sonic girl, the country Sonic girl.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was an extremely emotional moment for the season. Like, that was a tearjerker. Like, that one hurt a little bit. But then, how many episodes later, Barry just has to sit there and watch Ralph suffer the same fate?
Yep.
Those were rough moments. That
was rough.
I know we started this by saying that it didn't have some of the emotional impact, but man, it really had moments of having the emotional impact I expect out of Flash, and hard.
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure I was talking about the entire season, but really just the season finale.
Yeah.
I'll admit, when I was watching what happened to Ralph, I did think about, them trying to shove those Microsoft Surfaces down my throat with his character, and I went, Like, what was that? That was so terrible to see as like those little weird vignettes of like them trying to like hawk Microsoft products to me.
I don't watch a lot of NFL football, but if you do, you've been bombarded with the same thing. That didn't even feel that weird.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that was weird about it is like three of those would play in like three or four. It would play 3 or 4 times when you watched it on the CW app, like per episode. I'm just like, okay, I get it.
Yeah,
Caitlin's using a thing.
yeah, that got rough. That's the problem with the CW app in general.
It is.
By the way, a shout out to the CW. I will gladly pay you if you can just stop that. We'll gladly give you money to watch all these shows if you will just let me watch them in peace.
I won't. It'll give me your bad commercials. Give me time to go pee.
I'll hit pause, man. It's worth it. I'll do it. $3.99 a month. I'll pitch that now. I'll give you $3.99 a month to not do that.
No, man, I'll go get a snack and listen out for the third time they play the same car commercial in a row, and I go, okay, it's almost over.
I can't. And they mix it up. They mix up how many they're going to do. It reminds me of actually being a kid and missing stuff, and I'll never be able to go back for it. Like it's still an advantage over like 8-year-old me, where it's like, oh my god, I missed it, and I'll never see it. Because now I can just click and go see that thing I missed, and I risk maybe having to see the commercials again. But yeah, I'll give you money. That's my point.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I'm sure there is. If money's going to be had over this, it's going to be like, it's not going to be CW stuff, man. It'll be like they air it simultaneously on CW app and on the DC Universe streaming app. So you'll pay for the DC streaming universe app and probably have the new episode of Flash. I hope.
That'd be fantastic.
I hope.
By the way,
yes.
Did you like the whole shrimp buffet thing? Because that made me laugh.
The shrimp buffet thing was funny, but it made no sense to me.
I mean, I can't fathom the idea of actually like fighting something and not focusing on it at the same time, but made me laugh. I don't know. Out of him, it made sense.
Weird. Well, I mean, just the thought of like having no thought about what your actions actually are going to be. Like, I don't think it's possible. Like, even if you're like throwing out weird crap about shrimp or whatever, you're still thinking like right hook.
I've never so much as had to fight a polygraph. I don't know.
Right. Well, it's not a lie if you believe it.
Right. There are ways to test for that now too. Oh, one loose strain that might go into next season. The mechanic still loves DeVoe, and she is out there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And she did hand over the piece of technology that used the Speed Force and didn't quite restore Harry.
Yeah.
Do you just have a feeling we're not done with her?
I have a feeling we're not done with her or DeVoe, honestly.
Both. And that would fit. Like, Arrow did the same thing. We're not done with that guy either.
Mm-hmm. I feel like this is still just part of the plan.
It did very much feel that way. Like, it did not feel like the heroes won at the end of this episode. There was this, we saved the day, but a large hint of, yeah, but the theme of this season was, you may have lost the war already.
Mm-hmm.
Just hard to get,
I don't know,
hard to get excited about, yeah, we won. Every time for the last several months in their world, and better part of a year in our world, they keep thinking they've won, and absolutely not.
If they're sincerely like doing like multi-season arcs now, holy shit!
You excited?
Like if they, it makes me more excited than I was. Like just the concept of false finales almost.
Yeah. I can get into that. I think I would sacrifice the seasons we've had of just like ball busting, sobbing finales, which they're really good at that. Like, you finish the season of The Flash and you're dehydrated.
Right.
If the trade-off is we're going to do stuff that's like, no, we're going to run this over a few seasons, it'll be worth it. I can deal with that.
And I mean, I do say multi-season arcs, talking about like the big bads and stuff. Like, I know I'm well aware that they do multi-season arcs in terms of the characters, like, obviously.
Yeah, you're talking about the same big bad that DeVoe lovingly referred to during this episode. Loved that remark, by the way.
Yeah.
Great fourth wall breaker there. Mm-hmm. By the way,
it was very nearly too much.
No, it was just right. It was just right. Like as a And I'm sure you experienced this too. Like, as a person who's watched a lot of Whedon, just right.
Yeah, it's sort of like when you're doing a puzzle and one of the pieces almost doesn't fit, but it fits so well that it's actually like almost not in there.
It fools
like,
you for a while.
Yeah, it just fools you for just a second, where it's like it's like scratching the edges.
Yeah, I've done that where like later you need a piece somewhere else, and you think that wasn't a true match. You go back and pull it, and it's like, oh, that's where it's supposed to be the whole time. Twist ending. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Shyamalan
I enjoyed
version
Wally
of,
coming back.
Jigsaw puzzles.
Oh yeah, I liked seeing Wally come back.
It was nice. He got a good kind of recap of his arc in this season for this show.
Yeah. So like, hey, we know some of you guys don't watch Legends, clearly.
Yeah. I fought a time monster.
No.
Anyway, I feel really home now. Okay.
I fought a time demon, and like I feel like I'm a good, good fit over there. Cool. Like, cool. Guys, you miss Wally? Go watch Legends.
Yeah. I thought that was well handled, frankly.
Yeah, that was fun.
Like, for this show, they took him away in a way that made sense for the season, and they brought him back in a way that it was nice. It was a nice little surprise to see him there. And I don't even remember if I'd known that was happening, but whatever.
Like Mr. Worf and the Defiant in First Contact.
I like that you're using a Star Trek reference here, but I don't recall it. I'll be playing the part of Iris.
Well, by that time, Mr. Worf had already gone on to join the cast of Deep Space Nine. That's where he was posted, and unless Sisko decided to go along for the ride, he was in command of the Defiant. So when they did Star Trek First Contact and the Borg invaded again, Picard orders the Enterprise to to help fight the Borg cube, and when they get there, the Defiant is there with Worf, and they had this great little line where it was like almost about to be destroyed, and the Enterprise saves their ass, and they bring Worf aboard, and there's a little line where he's like, the Defiant, and they're like, oh, it's adrift but salvageable, so that they won't have to make another Defiant, on the show. But Mr. Worf could still be in the TNG, the Next Generation movie.
Yeah.
It made sense that he would be there. Now, when he showed up for the other two times, and the subsequent two movies, didn't make nearly as much sense.
I followed very little of that because I don't remember much of it. I've seen it, I think, but I don't remember much. I do want to mention that, like, you just explained Star Trek in an episode that we're reviewing that used a Star Trek reference. 2 episodes named Cisco, and I'm seriously still playing Iris West here. Like, it's pretty wonderfully meta.
Yep, this is the world we live in now.
I like it. Oh, speaking of the opposite. What did they name Joe and Cecile's baby?
Oh, Jenna.
Jenna,
I think. Jenna.
Okay. Every time I looked at that baby, those eyes were so wide. Like, all I could hear when I looked at that child was like, I know too much.
I think it was a reference to Jenny Ognotz, who was the granddaughter of Barry. XS.
Sounds like a fine reference. But if that baby was the source of the powers, that baby has seen the inside of Harry Wells' mind. It's seen the inside of DeVoe's mind. Like, that thing came out thinking like it should have had a pack of cigarettes under its arm.
This is DC on screen.
That baby's seen too much. That's all I'm saying.
It's the Dave Chappelle baby. I got kids to feed.
Yes.
Yeah, all right. I think that's all I've got. What do you...
I'm good.
I'm looking forward to it. I just had to complain about my few things in there that I was just annoyed by.
Sure.
But it was a weird season of The Flash. But I liked that guy that played DeVoe, whatever his name is.
I forget too, but he was compelling.
Marliese was good too.
Yeah.
Dude, in that episode where she was like on the stand, she was phenomenal.
She was. I will never understand her hair when she's in that lab coat though. Don't understand that costume choice at all.
Alrighty. Well, I don't have an answer for that.
I welcome one.
But
if it's out there, I don't know.
Yep. All right, we are DC On Screen. You can find every episode of DC On Screen at DCOnScreen.com, and every episode is for free, all 488 of them. And if you would like to follow us on social media, we tweet at DC On Screen. I tweet at David C. Robertson. And we're also on Facebook. We've got a Facebook group, DC On Screen group. We've got a Facebook page. It's a whole lot of stuff out there. We got an Instagram, DC On Screen. And again, if you enjoyed this episode and you want to pop over to iTunes and help us out, there's going to be a link for you to do that in the show notes. We're going to be coming pretty much right back with an episode talking about the season finale of Krypton, the Phantom Zone. And until then, keep some DC on your screen.
Our opening narration was from Dan Jurgens' The History of the DC Universe, Part 3 of 10, as featured in DC 52, Week 4. It was performed by me, David C. Robertson. Intro music by Jason Goss and Michael Shackelford. Michael's band, Future Elevators, could be found on Spotify or future-elevators.com. Our introduction was performed by Effie Oppelders of the fantastic podcast Stealing the Remote, which lives on SoundCloud. It can also be found on iTunes and Stitcher. We are proudly in partnership with TV Time, TV show calendar and social media site that lets you keep track of what you're watching, what your friends are watching, and where you all left off. DC On Screen is a maladjusted production. Visit maladjusted.tv for more from me and Jason, including sketch comedy, an improvised web series, vlogs, parodies, and more.
Are you maladjusted?
We all love the low country lifestyle, which is why we should do our best to protect it. To get insurance that helps you protect your home from whatever the low country throws at you, contact CT Lowndes & Company today. Their local agents can review your coverage to help make sure you're properly protected. CT Lowndes & Company has been helping protect and insuring the low country since 1850. Visit ctlowndes.com to learn more and request a quote. That's CTLOWNDES.com.